I keep wanting to pull on this thread. Like, what in the world can they possibly be looking at to arrive at the conclusion that A, the economy, the policy rate was restrictive to begin with, and B, they need to get it down closer to three, maybe 3.5%, 4% in order for it to be in a quote unquote more neutral setting. I really can't. I'm scratching my head here.
Yeah, well, I think part of what's happening is that they're a bit confused by the labor market, some of the labor market internals, where I think one of the questions is basically like, what is a tight labor market? And if you go back to 2022 and early in the first half of 2023, like we had a labor market that was the hottest labor market that anyone alive had ever seen. Like
Totally.
it was that hot. And so the Fed, I think, in many ways is benchmarking off of that benchmark and saying, well, look, the unemployment rate has risen, 0.7%. And as a result, that means that things must be restrictive. Whereas what really basically happened was, there was no hiring in COVID. There's a lot of layoffs in COVID. Then people struggled to find employees. Then they hired like all get out, and because they were fearful that they weren't going to be able to get access to employees anymore. And then kind of have like taken a little bit of a pause as essentially the growth of their companies is like catching up with their employee count. And in the same way, we've seen in a lot of ways like bullwhips in manufacturing where demand was up and then down and up that are confusing on the they're confusing if they were just sort of looked at independently. I think we're basically seeing a bullwhip in labor where we had very hot and then some moderation, and now we're kind of like normalizing at a very high level. But if you narrow in on just the change looks like some deterioration, even though the levels of labor market conditions in any context are very tight.